Hello.
Good to see you. Good to see everyone.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Oh,
Good morning. Bonjour.
Morning.
Bonjour.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good evening.
Everybody.
morning.
Bonjour.
What happened?
Morning.
Good evening.
Morning.
Morning from Nigeria.
Bonjour.
Good morning.
Morning
Good
from
morning.
Japan.
Good
Morning, New York. Good evening.
Bonjour.
I'm from Senegal.
Oh,
good evening from Bangladesh.
Burkina Faso.
Nah,
From Greece.
Senegal.
Nigeria.
Yes, morning from Aotearoa, New Zealand.
The Netherlands here.
So nice to hear your
Morning, Ivy.
hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We will start
evening.
shortly.
We are from DRC, Congo, Cadisian.
Welcome, welcome. As it's a minute past the hour, we will start into the program. So if everyone can mute, if
Of course.
yeah, thank you. And of course, we encourage you to continue with the chat. And yep.
Yeah.
Otherwise, please, yes, we will make sure to mute your mics if you're not already muted. And as always, we wanted to start, well, first of all, to welcome you, Pamela, and I would like to welcome you as co-chairs of the NGO committee. I'm Ivy Cook. And Pamela, do you want to say hello?
Good morning, good afternoon, good day, everyone. We're really pleased to be here. And we're really pleased that you're here with us. This is going to be a really exciting meeting. And I'll turn it over to Ivy.
Okay. I knocked over my heater. Oh, okay. So just to center ourselves and set our intention for this meeting, if we just have a moment of pause, maybe 30 seconds or so before we jump into some updates. So just taking a moment. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for that very brief, but I think it's always powerful to have a little pause before we jump into business. So thank you for participating in that, and like to give some updates. Pamela and I will do that. And so first, the registration, I'm sure all of you are eager to get on the platform of the NGO CSW forum. So we are opening the platform that will be on to members on Friday. It will open up. And then that would be just for the members first, and then the rest of the participants can register on Monday. We will open and share the link with you next week on Monday. And in the portal, you can look at all the other events that are happening. What's very, very important we want to stress this, and there will be another reminder set today. If you are a parallel event organizer, you should have received an email, and the email says to set up your profile. That's very important for you to do because we have over 500, near 600 events. And if the organizer doesn't do their part in fulfilling that profile, then it creates a lot of work on our end to do that manually. So please, 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 if you can do that, if you are a parallel event organizer, if you don't know what we're talking about, then you can just let us know and we can forward that. Hopefully it's not going into your junk email and you're getting all of our emails. And then we are having a reception during CSW. That's going to be on March 11th in the evening from 7:30 to 9:30. And the ticket sales have now opened, and that, I believe it should be now in the chat. There will be a link if you want to register. Yes, there it goes. And it will also be on our website if you need to find it later. And I will now pass it on to Pamela.
Thank you, Ivy. I too am excited about the platform opening to the membership first, and then to others. People who are members of NGO CSW get the first opportunity to register and to see the amazing parallel events that are going to take place. We want to give Rosa Lazard and the ARG tremendous appreciation for completing the parallel report. And I'm going to ask Rosa to just give a quick overview of the parallel report that was submitted to UN Women. Rosa?
Thank you so much, Pamela. I will be quick. And a shout out to my co-chairs as well, Fotini Papagiotti and Rosemary Barbaret, who are also on the EC and are longtime members of the ARG and newer members who I will recognize in the chat due to time limitations. We've worked very hard to provide 9 recommendations focused on CSW revitalization, and we focused on process and content. On the process issues, we are focused 1 on effective accountability from all CSW stakeholders. Recommendation 2 is on local, national, regional, and global collaboration and ensuring that we have linkage with the UN gender mechanisms. Recommendation 3 is highlighting the critical leadership roles that CSW, NGO, and all civil society organizations, feminist organizations play in advancing gender equality and the rights of women and girls. And then we go into the content very quickly, mandating violence against women, gender-based violence as a standing item for review in the CSWs. Recommendation 5, mandate women in power and decision-making as a standing item for review in the CSWs. Recommendation 6, mandate women in armed conflict as a CSW priority theme. It hasn't been for a long time. Recommendation 7, reversing economic and financial gender biases as a priority. Recommendation 8, addressing the intersectional impact of the climate crisis with a lot of these emerging issues. Recommendation 9 is prioritizing the regular review of women and girls' poverty, addressing and reversing economic, financial, gender biases embedded in institutional practices. And this package of recommendations will be presented to member states, to the CSW Bureau, to UN and UN Women personnel. So we will have this linked to our website.
Thank you so much, Rosa. And
thank you very much, Pamela.
Let our membership know that those 9 recommendations came directly from their input during the surveys that
Hello, Pamela. I think you froze.
Yeah.
Yes, I think she did. I think it was just making the point that this came from our survey, and from our last monthly, we also asked you to vote on these priorities. Thank you. We'll take any comments in the chat.
I'm just gonna take it from where Pamela left off.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. You're back. Okay.
Yes,
Go
thank you.
ahead.
I have an unstable internet connection. So we're going to have training sessions, parallel event organizers and exhibit booth organizers on the 30th of January. Parallel event training will be on the 7th of February. And then we're going to have participant training for everyone on the 18th of February at our monthly meeting. So please mark your calendars. That's 3 dates, the 30th of January, 7th of February, the 18th of February. And then in addition, our conversation circles are going to start on February 10th, and we'll be sending out a MailChimp blast. We're going to have 2 on February 10th at 9 and 11, 2 on next Monday, 2 on February 17th at 9 and 11, and then 2 on February 24th at 9 and 11. So please watch your mailboxes, your email boxes for information on the conversation circles. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel for a brief overview on our Global Youth Fellows.
Thank you so much, Pam. And the conversation circles registration links are in the chat, so you can start seeing the topics and what we're going to be discussing. I'm really excited to introduce, if you're not familiar with, our Global Youth Fellows. They are a group of young people from all over the world that we have selected for their outstanding work in advocacy. And they are organizing preparation series leading up to the forum every other Wednesday, and then back-to-back Wednesdays because we're running up to the forum tight. So we're going to be doing every other Wednesday up until March 5th. And you can find more about that on our Instagram page, and I will also put a link in the chat. So don't miss those. They're really amazing.
Fantastic.
You're muted.
Thank you, Rachel. They are amazing. And I just want to give my heartfelt thanks and appreciation to Rosa Fotini and Rosemary for the ARG, and to Rachel and to Nitra for all that they've done to pull together the forum and the Global Youth Fellows. We have a small but mighty team, and thanks to all. And at this time, with appreciation, I'm introducing UN Women's representative, Vivek Rai, for updates. Vivek?
Thank you so much, Pamela. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, colleagues. I apologize, I joined the meeting a few minutes after it had started. So my understanding, Pamela and Ivy, is that I will be focusing on the steps around CSW revitalization and where we are currently. So I missed Rosa's presentation, so she may have already touched upon this. So apologies if I'm repeating stuff that Rosa and other colleagues may have already shared with you. But in terms of the CSW revitalization process, where we are currently, as some of you may already know, is that the process around the revitalization, building off what emerged from the Pact of the Future, is actually just really starting as we speak, right? So as you know, at the end of last year, the president of ECOSOC, which is currently Canada, had appointed these 2 co-facilitators, which is Ireland and Botswana, who will be leading this process. There is a discussion that is being planned now with member states to walk them through the process and for member states and other stakeholders to share options and ideas for CSW revitalization. on the basis of which an elements paper will be presented. We are extremely grateful to NGO CSW New York for the survey that was undertaken and for the outcomes that were presented. And if I understood correctly from the very last bits of when I came in, of when Rosa was speaking, there is another set of recommendations that you will be also bringing forth, building off what you have already been sharing through the survey on this. We have also received from the civil society space feedback from the Women's Rights Caucus, as many of you are members of the Women's Rights Caucus. So they have submitted a set of recommendations, and then building off the regional review meetings that took place at the end of last year for Beijing +30, we have also received a set of recommendations from the young feminist groups. So as some of you know, during the regional reviews that took place, there were, of course, civil society convened meetings alongside each of the formal regional reviews. But in 4 of the 5 regions, they also had separate youth convenings that took place and discussions that took place, which have also resulted in a set of recommendations from the young feminist groups. So we are taking all of these into account. We are synthesizing all these recommendations. We are sharing them with the member states, with the president of ECOSOC, with the co-conveners, and they will also form the basis of the elements paper that will be developed. The elements paper that I've been referencing will hopefully be shared sometime in February with member states, and there is a plan, as some of you know, during CSW to have a set of discussions. There will be a set of interactive dialogues that will take place, including at the ministerial level, but also with the national machineries, and a space for civil society to also engage around the CSW revitalization. So that, you know, we will share more information with you on that through Pamela and Ivy. Our understanding is that in April 2025, then, based on the discussion that emerged from CSW, the co-facilitators will start to develop a draft resolution on CSW revitalization. Negotiations of that are expected to start either in April or May and go on till July and August. And then the hope is that because the CSW revitalization has been linked not just to the Pact for the Future, but also to the Beijing +30 process, the hope is that this resolution will be adopted during UNGA in September 2025. We understand that timeline may not happen. If it doesn't happen, it's all right. The new ECOSOC president that is coming in after Canada is Nepal, who is also deeply interested in taking this work forward. And so I think you know, we can also look for a great steer and guidance from Nepal if they once they take over. But as of now, the hope is for this timeline and process to be completed in September 2025, as Canada hands over its share of the ECOSOC process. So that is essentially where we are. Sorry?
I think that's just an accident. Please mute your mics if you're not speaking, please.
So the last thing I wanted to say on this, Pamela and Ivy, is essentially that you know, we will be having conversations with you also around how do we want to leverage the NGO meetings that we share with you during CSW. And if you want to use some of that space to also have further discussions around that, we are in your hands in terms of that, and we'll be reaching out to you to discuss that. But I'll stop here and hope that sort of has given you a broad sense of where we are. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Vivek.
Yes, thank you so much, Vivek. And we will now go into the program. We wanted to welcome Dr. Eleni Elaine Congress and Sandra Sheridan. The program today is hosted by the International Federation of Social Workers. The title, as you know, is Indigenous Women, Education and Poverty. Very excited about this. I was trying to remember a time when we had a panel, of Indigenous people. This is wonderful. So just to introduce our moderators, and we greatly appreciate the program that they have put together. This is another one of the meetings that has been organized by members of the committee, something new that Pamela and I are trying this past year. We just had, this is the second of the monthly meetings that have been organized by members. So Dr. Elaine Congress is Associate Dean and Professor at Fordham University Graduate School of Social Service in New York City. And she serves on the Executive Committee of the NGO Committee on the Rights of Indigenous People. And Sandra Sheridan is Reverend Sandra Sheridan is a physical therapist specializing in manual therapy and therapeutic exercise, and a longtime student and an NGO representative of the Sunray Meditation Society at the United Nations for the past 25 years. And her focus has been on Indigenous people's rights and utilizing the Sunray peacekeeping principles within the UN system. So thank you again. Oh, I see that Carolyn is also spotlighted. Should I introduce you too? I'm sorry, I didn't have you on the list. So Carolyn DiCarlo is, she's combining her vast knowledge of ancient architecture and sense of style as she creates homes, work environments, and public spaces. She's designed over 500 residences in New York City and surrounding areas, and brings her expertise in construction and fabrication, and as well as connections to resource contractors and artisans. And she manages currently a successful architectural and interior design firm based in New York City. And so I will hand it over now. I believe the three of you will take it over from this point forward, but thank you again. And thank you, Pamela, so much for working behind the scenes to pull this all together.
Myself. Hello, everyone. First, I wanted to thank CSW so much for including us. We're very excited about this meeting, and because we really want to share with you about the Indigenous Committee and who we are, what we and what we're doing. Because I think it's just very important. I think you would all like to know more about Indigenous women. I'd like to just tell you first a little bit about what we're going to do for our program. I'm going to talk briefly about Indigenous peoples. Then we're going to have, Sandy's going to tell you more about our committee. And then, fortunately, we have the chair of our committee, Roberto Barrero, who will be with us, who will give you greetings. And then we turn to our wonderful program, and we've identified 3 Indigenous speakers and women who are going to be talking about our theme on poverty and education. And then we have, we're going to have question and answers. Please put any questions you have in the chat, and Carolyn's going to help us monitor that. And we'll have time for some questions and answers. If we don't get to your question and you would like to know more about it, hopefully you can connect with one of our speakers. But if you need help, you can always email me at congress@fordham.edu. And then we will close. So that's a little bit about our program. Let me just tell you a bit about Indigenous peoples. It's estimated that there are almost 500 million Indigenous peoples in the world. Okay, that sounds like a lot of people, and we're in 90 different countries around the world. But the issue is this is 6.5% of the population. You think, oh, only 6.5%. But that's more than the population in South America. I mean, that is a lot of people. We're all over the world. Of course, we're much more familiar. I am in terms of the United States. We have Navajo, Apache, Mohawk, and right here we are on indigenous lands right now. This is Lenape land that we have here in New York City. But we're in many other places in the world. In South America, we have Maya people. In North America, Canada and Alaska, and even further north, we have Inuit people. In Europe, the Sami people. In Africa, Maasai people. In Australia, Aborigine, and New Zealand, Maori people. So we're in many, many places in the world, and we're really always working to protect the environment, which is probably more important than ever now with climate change and increased population. We always have been very in touch with the environment. We're very concerned about poverty and education. Unfortunately, Indigenous people are 3 times more likely to be poor. And in fact, in terms of the extreme poorest people of the world, they're 19% more likely to be in that group. In the U.S., they are certainly the poorest group. And so, this is an important issue. And in terms of education, there's also some educational issues. This is something we're working on. It's a very important part of our Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People that we promote education, for all Indigenous peoples. As you know, it is, one of the Millennium Development Goals, education for everyone. And this is something we're really working on. It's, especially for challenging for Indigenous people who live in very, very rural areas. But this is a goal that we have. Our 3 wonderful speakers we're going to have today will be, talking about these issues, poverty and education. And they'll talk about their own experiences and recommendations. And they'll tell you about some of the great work that they're doing in terms of these challenges. So let me turn the program over now to Sandy to tell you about our committee.
Hi, everyone. So great to be here. A little bit about the history of the committee. The NGO Committee on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples began in 1991 with the planning of the International Year of the World's Indigenous People. The United Nations began focusing on Indigenous peoples at that time, and they established not only the International Year, but the first International Decade of the world's Indigenous peoples. Gradually, that transformed into the second International Decade of the world's Indigenous peoples, along with the passing of the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. There's also the International Day of the world's Indigenous people, which is every August 9th. The mandate of this committee, of the NGO Committee on the Rights of Indigenous People, is to educate the NGO and the international communities on Indigenous peoples, to support and educate on the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and to support the 3 UN mechanisms: the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the Expert Mechanism on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. The committee meets once a month, the 3rd Thursday of the month from 1 to 2:30, and we meet online at this point. And now I'd like to pass this on to the chair of our committee, Roberto Borrero.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Can you hear me?
Okay,
great. Well, I really appreciate being invited to just offer just a few words of greeting and welcome. I thank you, Elaine, for sharing some of the statistics, and it's very important for me to hear this and to reaffirm this, and to also, just express my gratitude for this collaboration in raising the visibility of Indigenous women during this time. Just to get into just a few more statistics, there is approximately 185 million Indigenous women around the world. They belong to more than 5,000 different Indigenous peoples. And these are just estimates. Censuses are always difficult to really get to the heart of the folks, but these are estimates that are put out by various bodies. Obviously, Indigenous women are the backbone of their communities. They play a crucial role in food security, conserving the environment, preventing biodiversity loss, the knowledge keepers, leaders, and human rights defenders, among many other important roles. Now, just getting to the focus of the discussion today, which I'm very much looking forward to. Indigenous women often face barriers to education, including gender discrimination, cultural discrimination, and social norms. And these barriers can limit access to quality education, which, as you all know, can have a negative impact on their lives. Indigenous women, unfortunately, are also more likely to experience poverty than any other group in society. And this is due to a variety of factors, including, once again, discrimination, but also colonization and a lack of access to resources. Just to kind of wrap my comments up on a more positive note, the Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, or CEDAW, adopted a General Recommendation 39 in October 2022. And this is a document that provides guidance on how to protect the rights of Indigenous women and girls. And I would urge, if you're not familiar with the General Recommendation, to become familiar with it, and also use this when you advocate for Indigenous women in these spaces. Use that in tandem with the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which you should also be familiar with at this point. With that, I want to end my closing words because I really want to hear the speakers, as I'm sure all of you do. And I want to thank you for the opportunity and once again for this collaboration. Hahom, in my Indigenous Taino language, I say Hahom, iti aono, thank you, relatives.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Now I'd like to introduce the first speaker. Wage Lekati Louise Hearn is a condoled Bear Clan mother for the Mohawk Nation Council. She is a trusted advisor for families and community youth and works closely with them in their homes and schools. She bestows traditional names in the Longhouse and provides spiritual counsel for all those seeking support. Through her work as a matrilineal leader and as a mother, she is a founding member of the Gonogui Council, a circle of Mohawk women working to reconstruct the power of their origins through education, empowerment, and trauma-informed approaches. Louise champions the philosophy of a natural law called mother law. And I introduce Louise. Thank you.
Sega Swagwego. Nice to meet you all. Can I share my PowerPoint? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I gotta double click on it?
And then share.
Oh. All righty. How is everybody today? Good?
Great.
Okay, so everybody can hear me. Well, I only have a few minutes here to share, and I'm going to dive right in. As she introduced me wonderfully, my name is Watgila Gutste. I'm a third-generation Bear Clan mother for my community of Akwesasne in upstate New York. My mother and my grandmother were both clan mothers, and I have a full spectrum duty here to do work, not just spiritually and ceremonially, but also politically. And clan mothers have the right of nomination. In our nation, men don't become chiefs until a clan mother puts them in that position. We have the right of nomination, right of recall, and our Haudenosaunee Confederacy is older than the United States, is older than Columbus Day. We predate everything here in the North and South American hemisphere. And women in my community, we're matrilineal, matrilocal, matrifocal society. And everything that happens in the greater details of ceremonial life or in political life happens at the work of women. And I can see there's many women on this call, so really appreciate that, because I believe women are in the details, and we have a whole lot to contribute. So I have my PowerPoint that I just want to move along with. And so my role as Bear Clan Mother is about transitioning and transforming community, restoring and reconstructing our cultural ways. And I like to lead in with a lot of gratitude, being grateful and acknowledging creation with a lot of dignity as a core value to all the work that we do here. So a lot of, I'm a mother of 5 with 1 adopted child, and I got 13 grandchildren and 1 more on the way. And I've been married to the same man for almost 40 years now. And I have extensive work in the community and beyond. I've done international work, and I've been at the UN. And I just love our people. I love Indigenous people. I grew up on the reservation. I was born and raised. My first language was my Mohawk language. And at the age of 7, when I first went to school, I finally learned how to speak English. So excuse my English, it's not the best, but I'll guide everybody through this process. So when we talk about here, especially my point of view, when you talk about education, I don't think of education in terms of Western paradigms. I think of education more in how do we get our young people back to being traditional people? How do we get them back to speaking their language? How do we get them back on the land, back into the history, back into the ancestral calling? And so as much as, graduating high school or getting a master's or a PhD, we value more the education of their ancestors versus modern paradigms of education. So what I spend a lot of my time on is creating curriculum and finding activities or ways to bring our young people back to the land, back into the environment, and speaking their languages and participating in ceremonies, knowing our sounds, learning our spiritual connections, and to be able to participate and self-generate your own ability to be in the world with a certain knowing and a connection to something greater than yourself. And so what we have here is the 7 rites of passage. We're going into our 23rd year of reconstructing our coming of age ceremony called Ohologo. And there's 7 stages that a young person has to go through. And it starts at conception all the way to death. So it's from the womb to the tomb, but my greatest concentration is here in the middle where adolescence is. And that's what Ohologo is. It means they're under the husk. So a lot of Indigenous communities founded their foods on the ancient plant of corn. So the fasting ceremony is like the layers of husk on the corn. Each year brings a new layer of growth that starts 1 day to 4 days of fast. They are tasked with ordeals and responsibilities during their fast. And this is at our ceremonial grounds, and we think about our young people being encased in that husk until they reach the age of adolescent, and then we slowly peel back the layers of husk. Ohologo reconstructs the ancient cultural knowledge of coming of age as a preparatory process for young men and young women as they transition into adulthood. During this transitional period, youth are the most open and the most vulnerable. They benefit from adult and peer guidance to help them find and follow a good path. And we also introduce them a lot to our medicines. And we think about this part of the education process is putting them back on the land to be connected to their earth mother or Mother Earth, to their grandmother, their moon, our brother, the sun, our grandfathers, the thunders. And so part of it, the original beginning of all our education process is to teach them about creation in our Ahondagali Wadekwa, which is the words that come before all else. So everybody from child to elder, this is our beginning process. Every time we have a meeting or a ceremony, we got to open it and we got to close it with an address to the natural world. And we begin with the people, to the earth, to the waters, to the plants, the fish life, the animal life, the gardens, the three sisters, the trees, the birds, the thunders, the wind, the sun, the moon, the stars, the four sacred beings, and even to creator or creation himself, and even the grandmother of creation. We acknowledge that. And a lot of our ceremonial cycles follow the moon, the yearly lunar cycle of our grandmother, the moon, and we introduce them to the different celestial happenings, because in our cosmology, we all believe in the Haudenosaunee philosophy. And our story of origin is our creation story, where a sacred female being fell from a celestial opening in the sky world and came here and landed on a turtle. And it's upon those instructions that we began as a people. And we always refer, everything in our ceremonial cycle refers back to that original story and our acknowledgement of it. So Ojijizo, our mature flower that came from another place there in the sky world. Excuse me. I'm just recovering from a cold. And a big process of our young adolescents when we bring them into the puberty, right, is each young girl at the onset of her moon time, meaning her menstruation. Excuse me, I have to have a cough. Sorry, every young niece who is around the age of 12, 13, 14 will have to gather her female relatives, whether it would be her auntie or her older sister, her grandma, and they help her in her process, in her journey to becoming a young woman. And it is a 7-year process. First 4 years are built upon community, and the last 3 are solo. The nephew, who is also the mirror of our young nieces, also goes through a similar process. Is a little bit more physically intensive, and he has to have 4 uncles too, and they give advice. They lean into the young nephew's experience to make sure he's testing his young growing body with safety and with informed knowledge and consent. So it's really important that the men and the uncles and the dads and the grandfathers and the brothers are all part of our process. We're always moving in tandem with each other to help our young nieces and our nephews inside the ceremonial process of a hologo. Another big part of our ceremonial process is the moon lodge, where every full moon, we gather the women and the young women, we put them inside the lodge, and we prepare them for each month to acknowledge, celebrate their feminine powers and authority and intuitive knowing and all the medicines that go with it. So we gather inside this moon lodge in order to celebrate the merry fact that we cycle with the earth and the moon, and that we have the power to give life and to also take life, and the responsibility of that. So the moon lodge is a vital transitional door in and out of the spiritual realm with that. And to me, this in itself is a whole classroom and a whole process of education that looks very much nothing like you'll see in Western paradigms. And then we also bring them to, we always bring our young people to places within nature, and we're always pulling in our young people. We look at ourselves as a community, as a wellspring of incredible knowledge. So we have people in sports, we have people in education, we have people in justice, in the medical field. This young lady speaking here was a great women's hockey player in our community. So we're always bringing in young people to share their stories and bring to life the possibilities of a future that a young niece or nephew might want to grow into. But the other added education piece is we have a really strong curriculum on anti-drugs and how to stay away from the social ills of addiction and crime. So it's vital. Hang on, give me a minute.
Louise, thank you so much. If you could wrap up soon.
Sorry, I'm just going on. Here's our nieces. We also include art and artistry. We take our young men into the woods. Really important when it gets to poverty that we teach these children how to divert poverty by putting their hands on the land and planting gardens versus buying food at the grocery store. We have young boys in our lawn house who are learning about wood. We teach them about crafting. We teach them about the river. We teach them how to create fasting lodges. We bring our young nephews with the uncles out of the woods. We dress them in our own clothing, our traditional regalia. We sing for them a lot. We teach them about sexual health, both the young men and women, and we canoe them in as the grand finale to their overall educational experience. And by far, this is a community rich in culture, language, and the education of our young people in our own way versus a Western paradigm. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Louise. We really appreciate this incredible information. Let's move on to our next speaker. Everline Nashipe Nikdori from the Maasai Girls' Rights Advocate. She's a passionate advocate, and she's a champion for My Chosen Vessel, which is an NGO based in Kenya in the United States, dedicated to uplifting Maasai communities. She was born and raised in Kajiado County, Kenya, and it's a rural region in the Rift Valley in the heart of all the MCV projects. She's proud of her Maasai community, renowned for its vibrant cultural heritage and communal values. And also, along with her is Jessica Chinsadi, who is the president of My Chosen Vessel, which is the NGO representing. This is a nonprofit dedicated to providing clean water and education to the Maasai in East Africa. Thank you. Jessica?
Wonderful. Can you hear me, Sandra?
I see Vilma on. I'm looking for, there's Jessica.
Yeah.
And we're looking now for Everline. Vilma,
Yes, can you hear me? Oh,
there's
there we are.
Everline. Okay.
Yes, people.
Yeah, great.
Wonderful. I don't know if you could hear me. Can you hear me, Evelyn?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I didn't know if the microphone was working. First, I just wanted to thank everyone, and we're so grateful to be here. We just wanted to thank the NGO CSW for hosting this important meeting. Also, the Indigenous Women on Social Work, thank you. And of course, the NGO Committee on the Rights of Indigenous People, Sandra, Elaine, Roberto, we thank you for inviting our NGO to be here, and of course, to have us participate in the Maasai to be able to share. We're really just honored to be here today. I'm currently based in San Diego. I see some people in California, so we're excited to be part of this global community here and this important dialogue today. And then we're also in Amboseli, Kenya, currently located as our NGO. I wanted to share a PowerPoint, and of course, want to make sure Evelyn has enough time to speak. If it's possible to share, would be great. Let me see if it's okay. Beautiful. can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Let me. Sandra, obviously we thank you because I know you just gave a beautiful introduction, and like I said, we're very grateful to be here and really just want to allow Nashipai some time to really speak. She's been doing amazing work advocating for women's rights, and we're really honored as our NGO. We've been working together for almost 15 years. So we're really honored that she's here, and just want to give her an opportunity to share the amazing work and her personal story.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Yeah, so as you've heard, my name is Evelyn Nashipai. So for this conversation, you can call me Nashipai, and very honored to be here, and shout out to all the people on the comments that are doing amazing work. It's incredible what everybody's doing in various communities. So I was born and raised in Kenya, of course, among the Maasai. For some of you that know Kenya, Maasai is a big highlight of, you know, just the culture, the lifestyle, and just really a beautiful indigenous group of people. And so I grew up in Kajiado County. So for this conversation today, I think it's important to highlight the power of, you know, nonprofit organizations, and its impacts communities, and impacts various people. So I got an opportunity to go to college through USAID. They had at a time initiatives that they were doing in East Africa when it comes to education, job and employment, and the healthcare aspect when it comes to antiretroviruses. And so I I landed in Chicago. I actually am based in Wisconsin. For some of you that know, it's in the Midwest next to Chicago, and it's really cold. Today, actually, they canceled school because the wind chill is negative, about 30. So it's really cold here, far away from Kenya. And so, you know, as you talk about the challenges, what are the challenges that oftentimes, especially Maasai women face? Gender inequality is one of them. You know, grew up in a very male-dominated society where women really were considered the pillars of the community. And so they had to do most of the work. They're nomadic pastoralists. And so, you know, families will move from area to area. That became a big barrier to education. And so girls really were never given the opportunity for many reasons, and gender inequality is one of them, to go on and perhaps pursue their passion, or go on and choose the path for their life. And so, you know, gender inequality is one of the barriers that it's very much present. And the water scarcity, you know, among our people has been a big challenge. You know, they rely on rainfalls, and, you know, as we talk about even just global warming and how much those rains have been far apart. And so they often have to walk long distances to go find water. And so that became a barrier to young girls to go to school. One of the things that has been highlighted for a long time when it comes to the Maasai, it's the early marriages. You know, women were put through, FGM, and that was just an indicator that it is time to get married off. And families relied perhaps on even getting those girls married off as a source of income, as a source of wealth. And so an exchange for a girl would be 5 cows, 2 cows, or whatever that may be. And those often are used to send their boys to school. And so that became a big barrier to access education. And I think, you know, if we talk about my story, access to education allows you to carve out a path and support my family. You know, my younger sisters, because I went to college, I was able to give them an opportunity as well to then avoid early marriages and get an opportunity to pursue who they want. And so what we've done so far is really I've partnered with this non-profit organization, then to see how could we address some of these challenges, you know, bringing water closer to these families, right? And so creating those wells where girls didn't need to walk such a far distance, and so they spend less time looking for water and then get an opportunity to go to school. And so how else would you do that? Empowering women by allowing them an opportunity to provide meals and food for their own families. And so creating that source of income, you know, whether that's beadwork and, you know, giving them jobs, so then they're able to get up in the morning and go get some of the work done. And so My Chosen Vessels has done amazing in terms of really engaging them, but also creating a community where they still very much continue their lifestyle. You know, the lady before me talked a lot about, you know, beyond degrees and master's degree and graduate degree, we want to create that community aspect of it. And so putting these, you know, women or just people together where they can continue to have that cultural point of themselves while creating jobs, it's very critical. And so we have My Chosen Vessels, you know, started their first bottling water project. And so these would be able to help these mothers, you know, get the job, and some of those profits will go back to the community by building schools, a cultural center where, you know, community members could get together. And so it's been a very powerful way to address some of the challenges that continue really to impact these communities and stand in the way of education. And so cultural center, yeah. And this is some of the information Jessica is sharing. Hopefully you guys can see in terms of what are some of the ways we've been able to do that. And so we could talk a lot about, you know, what are the challenges, what are the barriers, but I think ultimately, you know, really providing these women an opportunity to go on and really pursue their goals, feel really good about what they want to do in life, support their families back, provide them with a source of income while maintaining their culture. This is such a nice, beautiful picture. So yeah, so thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to share a little bit about the Maasai, the challenges, but most importantly, how are we continuing to address those challenges?
I think just to close, we invite anyone who wants to attend and anyone who wants to come to Kenya. We have a lot of programs at the Maasai Education Center, so all of you are welcome, or if you'd like more information, I can also put it in the chat. I know Sandra said we also have some Q&A, so if you have any questions, I don't know our timeline because I know we only had 10 minutes, but we're happy to continue sharing or answer any questions that people have at the end.
Okay, well, you know, thank you. It was such an interesting presentation. And if anyone has any questions, please be sure to put it in the chat, and we can come back and you may get more questions to answer as we go on. Now I'm going to turn to our third speaker, who I'm very excited about. And this is, she's going to be talking about this organization that she's involved with, MAIA, and MAIA, and it's developed by Indigenous girls and women and for Indigenous girls. And so, I mean, it's really a very exciting project. And I'm going to introduce you to someone who is a real leader, in this project. And Vilma is just terrific. Her name is Vilma Salaj. Excuse my pronunciation. And Vilma is a Maya Kachakal woman, and she's one of 6 children who lives in a very small rural village in Silesia, Guatemala. And this is about her remarkable journey with Maya. It really began in 2010 when she was a mentor in the program. And then she became the first Impact school director when the school opened in 2017. And now she's the executive director of strategic partnership. She speaks 3 languages, her native Indigenous tongue as well as Spanish and English. And she's really dedicated to improving academic outcomes in Guatemala. And so one way she's gone about this is she's trying to look at some of the educational systems we have here in the United States, but not losing kind of the important educational practices in Guatemala that she has, that she knows so well. And so currently she's receiving a bachelor's degree in secondary level education. She's received the One Young World COVID-19 Young Leaders Fund, and she's completed a leadership program in a business school, and she is started to get all these awards because her program is so extraordinary. So, and it's just something about Velma. I work with a lot of people, but she's so engaging. And anyway, please tell us more, Bill, about some of your experience and what we can learn and how poverty and education is really relevant to our work with Indigenous women and girls.
Thank you, Eileen, for that wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening for everyone. I think Guadalupe, she is my colleague, she needs to share my presentation. Thank you. Okay, here we go. You can hear me?
It's a little soft.
You can hear me very well? No, so much?
A little soft.
Okay, a little louder?
Yes,
Like
please.
this? Okay, thank you so
Better.
much.
Thank you.
Technology. Utsi Watch, Utsi Patik Iwonohel. Hello, my name is Vilma Saloh. I am the Mayan Cachiquel woman. I am the Executive Director of Strategic Partnership at Maya. I am very happy to be participating in this event of the Committee on Status of Women. I am very proud to be representing my organization and Indigenous women from Guatemala. I am a Mayan Cachiquel woman, one of the 6 children who live in a rural village in Solola, Guatemala. I am the first woman in my family to continue my education and have access to the university. My story is not very different from the stories of Maya students. Where I come from, access to quality education is considered a privilege rather than a basic human right, especially for Indigenous girls and women. Here in Guatemala, only 2 out of 10 girls graduate from high school. 57% of girls are forced or marry 57% of girls are forced or marry or become mothers before they turn 18. 66% live in poverty. With a panorama like this, you can understand why investing in girls' education is vital. Today, I am representing Maya, an organization led by Indigenous women for Indigenous girls. We began this journey in 2008, a dream that today is reality. We serve around 250 girls in grades 7 to 11 through a unique educational approach that focuses equally on academics, socio-emotional intelligence, family engagement, culture and vocal empowerment, student well-being, sexual and reproductive health. One important fact is that all the girl pioneers receive a scholarship for 7 years. That is how long our program is. We do it through our flagship program, the Maya Impact School, Central America's first secondary school designed for Indigenous young women from rural communities. We call Girl Pioneers. with the aim of connecting them with the 21st century opportunities. We call our students Girl Pioneers because they are usually the first girls in their family to continue their education, break a generational barriers like poverty and exclusion. Our staff is 79% Indigenous Mayan Cacique, and 87% are female. This alignment of race and gender ensures critical empathy and cultural relevance at every level. At Maya, we know that girls and women are the solution. Before I continue telling you more, I would love for you to watch our institutional video.
One second, technology here.
Thank you, Guadalupe.
I have 4 strikes against me. I am from a rural community. I am poor. I am indigenous. I am a girl. But I want to learn. Luckily, I like challenges. I am unstoppable. These are the leaders of the award-winning Maya Impact School, the first secondary school in Central America run by indigenous women for indigenous girls.
We are girl-centered. We are family-centered.
We are goal-driven.
Maya exists because in Guatemala there are 4 million indigenous women. 48% of them don't know how to read or write. And for every 10 girls, 3 will be forced to marry before they turn 18. But with every year of school, a girl's income increases by 20%. With every year of school, a girl's health improves. With every year of school, a girl is more free to choose her future and more likely to educate her family. I am strong, I am smart, I am ready. How far can I go? As far as graduation, as far as a job with a dignified salary, as far as Congress or cabinet?
How far can I go? I will be the first person in my family to graduate from high school. Now I can read and write in 3 languages, Cacique, Spanish, and English. I will do an internship to gain experience. I am going to university with a scholarship.
At Maya, we are called Girl Pioneers because we are leading the way, forging a bold new trajectory. There are 4 pillars to Maya's quality education: lifelong learning. I have the right to 15 years of schooling. Empowerment. I will learn to raise my voice and work across differences. Economic autonomy. I will gain hands-on skills to be employed and earn a living wage. A family on my own terms. I can choose to be in a stable position before I begin a family. These are the foundations to building a better future for all. We are raising our voices, unlocking our potential, linking arms and breaking cycles of poverty. We are unstoppable. These are not just phrases, they are a new reality.
I wrote an article about the importance of poetry and got published on a national media outlet. I serve on the board of directors of a foundation that supports girl education around the world. I won a scholarship for university and I am part of scholarship board at the local organization. I participated in an event with former First Lady Michelle Obama, and I did an interview that was published on international media outlets.
I am indigenous. I am poor. I come from a rural community. I am a girl.
I am not the problem. I am the solution.
As you can see, at Maya, we believe education creates a better world. And we are changing the game for education in Guatemala and empowering Indigenous girls. This sounds like a bold statement. So how we do know it works? Well, we have 97% retention rate. 93% of our students pass a university entrance exam. 61% of our graduates have a formal job. 73% of our graduates continue at the university. Our students graduate with 11 years of education versus their mothers who have only 3 years of education. 69% of our students have an A2 English level. Their English is better than mine. But we are a model for the girls too. 87% of our graduates have received a full or partial university scholarship. One of our students, Ana Miriam, is Guatemala's only scholarship recipient of the AFS exchange program. She finished high school in Canada in 2023. We have received several recognitions. I want to share with you one of them. We are so proud that the Maya Impact School was shortlisted among the 2023 top 10 finalists for the World's Best School Prize in the category of overcoming adversity. I can continue giving you more data and telling you more about how we have been recognized, but I believe...
I'm okay with water for now. Yeah. Can I ask for?
Sorry. Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I can continue give you more data or telling you more about how we have been recognized, but I believe that the best testament of how we know that investing in Indigenous girls' education works comes from the empowered voices of our students, the girl pioneers. I invite you to watch and listen some of their stories.
I am a girl pioneer, and for me means having an empowered voice and being a young woman free to express her opinion to society, to fight for her rights and the rights of others.
For me, it means being the first in my family to go to university. I'm the first to create pathful opportunities in education for older girls.
Means carrying more responsibility because the future is in my hands and I must do the best for myself and my community.
A girl pioneer is an empowered woman who wants to make changes in her own life but also in her community.
Now that I am studying at Maya, it's a very important part of my life because I know I can fulfill my dreams.
Now I am an empowered woman and I improve in my English.
I developed and discovered new skills like communication skills in English and Spanish.
I never imagined being here as a teacher, which is one of the biggest changes that I have seen in my life.
My dream for the future are to graduate from high school and be an English teacher because I want to help other girls to learn English. I want to support my family like they support me now.
I continue at university, get a job, and contribute to society.
To help other girls in my community to having an important impact in our community.
I want to become an agent of change and help my family to have a better life.
I want to tell the world that education for girls is very important because girls like me are the solution.
We can create a big impact in the society because we have all the potential.
investing in girls' education can make a very huge difference.
Investing in girls generates ideas and opportunities.
It's important to help girls because they can change the world.
As you can witness, education is their tool against adversity. Girl pioneers are the Indigenous women who are create an infinite impact. Together, we can create a future where every girl has the opportunity to lead, uplift her community, and create a better world for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for such a broad understanding of education and the impact of poverty. So we'll hold the CSW questions till the end, but there are some interesting questions. First off, from a number of people are asking about generational poverty and really how, from possibly each of the speakers could answer this question of when you have belief systems that are so ingrained of so many generations of experiencing poverty, how do you change the mindset and the belief system? Any of the speakers can start.
Great question.
I think I can start. Thank you so much for that great question. In Maya, we believe like when we work with the community, when we work with the family, we can change their mind to demonstrate through their daughters' educations how change the patterns, the I think the machismo, like in Guatemala, machismo is very deep in our community. Like when we work with the family, is the first microsystem we broke, and they are our network with a girls' education. In Maya, we say like the one key for the success in our program is like family engagement with them. And that is very powerful for us. And we saw like the change in their mind, in their family, and we heard some stories from the fathers say, "Oh, this is a no for me." Like the father, and like my daughter teach me like this habit, like this topic, and that is very interesting because, like in Guatemala, the fathers and the mothers and the most of the indigenous community don't have education. Just they can't read or write, and that's why like the girl are stars who change in her family and the community. That's my answer.
Yeah, I think you really said it correctly, but to change the mindset, you have to show perhaps the fruits of that labor, right? I think people have to appreciate now. And when you talk about poverty, it's in so many levels. While education is one way to address it, there's a healthcare aspect, right? There is a if you think about the Maasai, as they are getting much older, especially, I can talk about my grandfather, the beds, so to say, where they sleep, it's becoming so hard on his back. He's like almost 90. And every time I go home, I have to buy him a new mattress, and he's very happy about that, or a wheelchair, and he's very happy about that. And so just offering those things that perhaps I remind my grandfather, I wouldn't be able to do this, if, I went there and I couldn't, and I don't have anything to provide. I think as I see more of what does this education, what does this empowerment on women do to giving back, whether that's drilling a well and now everyone has access to water, whether that's educating them on with the healthcare needs and everybody tends to appreciate, whether that's contributing from a church community where you can educate them on, hey, this is what's happening, and they can see those, and there's more and more women are going back into those communities and making impacts in their families, and those families are talking to the other families. I think that's how slowly you can change the mindset by showing the fruits, and so every family appreciates. And I have to be honest, I think if you look back years ago, my parents, they didn't go to school, but now me and my sisters had an opportunity, and things are changing slowly, and it's a combined effort of what is successful and where are we giving these educations and how are families being impacted, obviously one household, one family at a time.
Yeah, and I just want to add on to that too. Poverty is a mindset. It's how do you, so many different levels, so many ways to think about it. And in my community, because we've been colonized for so long, that the more colonized we became, the more poverty we stepped into.
Yes.
And so it's always a fine line how to balance it. Like if you just value more what the colonizer has, the less that you become. And yeah, we've had ancestors who lived off the land and who ate their own foods forever, and they didn't even know they were in poverty. It wasn't until colonization came and told us you live in poverty did we suddenly decide we were in poverty. But it's a mindset. So to me, education and poverty are probably one of the same. And so we always got to ride a fine line. Yes, education can get you out of poverty, but you always got to consider what kind of education that is, because here in the industrialized world in the United States and in Canada, the more industrialized we become and the more convenience we have, the sicker we become. So and the more disconnected we become from the land. So our families is where we really begin to massage the idea of we're not in poverty, where we're returning back to the ancestral ways and trying to build our education on that, and to get out of that poverty thinking that we don't rely on the government, but we rely on ourselves. And I think that's our right to self-determination, sovereignty, and our own autonomy, is that when you can do things on your own without having to rely on outside sources.
Yes, that certainly brings up really that point of both poverty and education, that it so depends on the mindset, the goals, the cultural surroundings that influences all this. And so it really was pointed to in the difference that the different speakers are speaking about education. Louise, it's much more Indigenous oriented, and whereas in Guatemala, it's more Western. So how do you speakers see the bridging of that? Since Louise, you certainly pointed out, a pivotal issue, of what is poverty and what do we want to educate?
Can you reframe that question?
I know that is a little. How do you all see Indigenous ideas of education and Western education fusing for the empowerment of women?
Very good.
I think there has to be a fine balance. I think if you immerse yourself way too far into one side or the other, you tend to lose your original authenticity, I believe. And there has to be a fine balance, because you can't give everything up that you are or what your ancestors were in order to become something else that's not as authentic. As much as the world is rapidly changing and progressing, sometimes that's the poverty, is that it's moving too fast, that you have no grounding and no connection. So it's got to be a fine balance. It almost has to be you know, a 200% education, 100% of the Western paradigm, and again, 100% of your ancestral knowledge and ways of thinking, connection to the earth, to the cosmology, to the universe. And because, you know, you got to be really careful of where, you know, the world is heading right now, because it's, you know, it's consumption and it's about profit, versus an indigenous paradigm, which is more about preserving and protecting and promoting the life and well-being of humanity altogether, versus the other one is about taking away.
Beautifully put. Sandy?
I'm just looking at the time. So I would like at this point to move forward. And Elaine and I just, Elaine can speak also, but I just want to say thank you so much to CSW, for Pamela, for Ivy, for inviting us to present today. And thank you so much to the speakers. This is so vitally important for everyone on the planet to hear this. So we're so grateful that you are here, and we thank everyone who is participating and joining in, and we hope that this is a benefit for everyone. Elaine, did you want to say anything, or
Yeah,
shall
I
we
just want
pass?
to, yeah, I really want to kind of, oh, my muted, okay. I really want to echo what you said, Sandy. I mean, let's see, I don't know, where should I begin? Well, thank you. First of all, wonderful speakers. I mean, just so interesting. And I know that, you know, we may have other kind of questions and concerns, and that's a very interesting issue that was posed at the end that we only just started to address. Let me just say, if you'd like to talk any more with our speakers, please, I mean, I can give you their contact information, or you can email me and I can help you get in touch with them. Again, I'm congress@fordham.edu. I also, you know, want to really thank CSW for inviting us to be part of this, you know, to present, because Indigenous peoples and women especially are a real concern of ours. So we're really glad that we had an opportunity to share with you some really important work that Indigenous women from around the world are doing. And so we really appreciate it. And finally, I want to really thank all the participants. We hope that it's really been interesting to you. And if you want further, you know, information from us, if you want to join our committee or just would like to talk more, please contact us. Thank you so much. And also, Carolyn, thank you for handling our questions.
And thank you back to Pamela and Ivy.
Right, definitely. For one, I cannot tell you how pleased we were when I saw the email from Pamela saying, "Well, how would you like to present at our members meeting in January?" I said, "Yes, yes." You know, so we were so glad that we had the opportunity to meet with you and share with you.
Yeah, thank you, Elaine and Sandy. Ivy and I are so thrilled with today's session, and I won't speak for Ivy, I'll let her speak for herself, but we want to really give appreciation for giving such a comprehensive look, you know, 3 different parts of the world, Indigenous women, and this conversation could have actually gone on for hours. When we look at the total the total numbers of Indigenous women and how poverty and education impact them. So thank you to all 4 of our speakers, and I will turn it over to Ivy.
Yes, thank you again, Elaine and Sandra. Was wonderful to spotlight Indigenous women around the world. And yes, we appreciate all of the engagement in the chat from all of you. Thank you so much. As one last plug again to all parallel event organizers, you should have received an email. Please watch out for your emails so that you can set up your profile and we have 2 more minutes. We can open the mics and say goodbye, and we'd love to hear your voices and see your faces.
Thank you for this session. We're so grateful.
Right, thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you
Bye.
so very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Miss you.
This has been very
Thank
great.
you.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Ciao.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
Blessing
everyone.
you
Thank
too.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.